Hello there. I hope you're all doing well. I apologize. I'm late today to get here. It's been a little hectic around here today. And so I'll tell you about that in just a little while. But a little busier than I expected to be, and so I'm a little late getting here with you. I apologize. I'm just setting up my phone here to go live on Instagram at the same time. Give me just a moment. I didn't want to be any later than I already was. So I figured I'd join you while I got this together. Okay, let's see here. So give me just a moment more, and I should be ready to go. There we go. Okay. All right, so we are live on Instagram. Hello there. We are live on YouTube. I hope everyone's well. Let me please comment on the Berkey water filter. I can't really say that much about it because, frankly, I don't really know so much about it. Z-Bubs, I'm sorry. Thank you for the contribution, but I wish I could say more. I'm not really don't really know. Oops. And just say hello to some folks. First of all, let me say hello. Crew Kavita, Small Instagram, Shumena Kuna, Naked One Piece, and many others. Thanks everyone for being here. Boris, good to see you. Is cabbage okay as salad? No, cabbage is really not such a good thing. Cabbage is very difficult. It's a cruciferous vegetable. So it's in the same family as kale and broccoli and Brussels sprouts and cauliflower. And those things are difficult to digest. They contain anti-nutrients, eaten raw. If you cook them, you destroy most of that. The problem is that you create toxins and destroy some of the nutrients as well. So I don't recommend eating cabbage. It's too hard to digest, and there's not any real redeeming, value, no reason to eat that when you have better options instead. Okay. Good morning, Dixie. Good to see you. Hola. Bob Jones says, "Oh, my mother just passed away last week. I spent 14 days at her bedside until she passed. Directly afterwards, I felt as though my body went into a detox. Your thoughts?" Yeah, well, first of all, I'm very sorry for your loss, Bob. I can imagine that when you're in that situation, you might have felt stressed. You might have been unable to relax. And as soon as your mom had passed, you were able to simply occupy your body in a way that perhaps you hadn't been occupying, to the same extent while you were there with her for those last couple of weeks. And that's probably why there was some detoxification. If you're able to, it would be an amazing time to do a fast, maybe remotely with me via Skype. So feel free to reach out via email, info@tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com if you'd like to do that. Dixie says, do most people actually drink the X liters of water you say in a day, or they try to come close to it at least? It seems hard when you're so weak during the fast. Most people do indeed drink the water that they need to drink. It makes all the difference in the world. We don't get the same results without that, but it's critically important that you understand what's going on and how much to drink. And so, again, Dixie, this is one of the reasons why fasting, therapeutic fasts, fasts of 3, to even 2-3 weeks or more. Our average here is 3, almost 4 weeks, 26 days is the average length of time. That's done only with experienced guidance, okay, not safe otherwise. Okay. Black Sheep says, hi, Loren, what's your opinion on vasectomy, on circumcision? Okay, well, they're two very different things. They don't usually do vasectomies on 2 or 7-day-old babies. So, if a man wants to do a vasectomy, I understand. If you don't want to have to worry about impregnating someone and you're very, very clear that you don't want children, I suppose it might make sense. Unfortunately, every surgery is potentially risky and harmful, because with any surgery whatsoever, there is the entrance of oxygen directly into the body, and that can create issues, that can create challenges. And so I would, I'd encourage people to be very, very cautious about this. Okay, it's something you want to be really, really careful about. So that's vasectomy. If you choose to do it, I mean, personally, I don't think I would ever do it. I would probably never have another surgery unless it was absolutely necessary. Okay, absolutely necessary. The surgeries I've had so far, with the exception of one, I had a couple of bone spurs filed off of a toe, or a bone spur filed off of a toe way back 30 plus years ago. And I don't know what I would do today. I mean, today, because I wear flip-flops, maybe I wouldn't bother. I almost never put on shoes. It's much more of an issue in an enclosed shoe where the toes are pushed together. Probably not healthy to be wearing shoes for many reasons, including that one. But I wouldn't do any, the only other surgeries I've had were 2 hernia surgeries that were deemed necessary by the people involved, and emergency surgeries when I've severed an artery or something like that to sew things back together. That's happened a couple of times in accidents. So those are the only surgeries I would ever get again. I would never do a vasectomy or anything else that's not necessary. Now, having said that, completely different story with circumcision. Circumcision, I mean, I first of all, you're mutilating a child, a baby. Okay, my foreskin was removed when I was 7 days old. As far as I know, I didn't get to have a say in the matter. This is something my parents decided to do. In my case, my family's Jewish. This is part of the religious tradition. This is what you do. I would never do that to a baby. I don't think there's any valid reason to do that. Not religion. I mean, I'm not interested in religion whatsoever. I consider myself a spiritual person, but I don't need laws by men to tell me what to do and what not to do. Okay, I think we know what's right and wrong, and we listen to that. That's all we need. Okay, health reasons, it's absolutely clear that our bodies are perfect and that the foreskin exists for a reason, many reasons actually, and we're far better off having them than not having them. Now it's too late. Mine's gone. It's been gone for 60 years nearly. It's not going to grow back. I'm not going to have a foreskin replacement surgery. I'm not sure if they offer those, but I'm not going to do anything. So it is what it is. I'm used to it. It's not a huge deal. But it's traumatic, I'm sure. It's not something any little baby should ever have to go through, and there's no valid reason to do it. Okay, I hope that makes sense. All right, I have a super chat here. I'm going to take the super chat, and then I'm going to explain why it was such a crazy time here, and then I'm going to come back to answering questions. Okay, let's see. Rachel is in the house. Hello, Rachel. Rachel's made a £5 contribution and says, hi, Loren, what type of water do you recommend for someone living in the UK? Well, the best water you're going to be able to get in the UK would be spring water. And I don't know much about the springs in the UK, but if you can't get good spring water from the UK, then I would probably look for the best quality spring water in bottles, in glass bottles, from somewhere else. I don't believe we can ever do better than spring water. I would use and have used reverse osmosis, which is much better than distilled water, as long as it's not the best reverse osmosis filter. And what I mean by that is that reverse osmosis filters depend on the micron size, the holes in the filter itself, to determine how much they filter. With the tiniest micron size filters, the ones that they use in laboratories when they want the very purest water possible for experiments, they use reverse osmosis, not distillation, because it's actually better than distillation if you have a tiny micron-sized hole. However, that's not going to be So if you buy like a household, and those units are very expensive, they could be thousands of dollars. But if you spend $100 or whatever it is these days for a countertop reverse osmosis unit, which connects to your kitchen sink or connects under your kitchen sink, these are relatively inexpensive devices. And the filters are such that they filter out most of the garbage that you really don't want while still leaving in most of the minerals. And that's a very positive thing. Okay, we want there to be minerals present. Okay, we need those minerals for our bodies to be able to use water and to cross cell membranes and for the water to conduct electricity. Okay, we run on electricity. If we have no minerals in the body, that doesn't work very well. Okay, I hope that makes sense to everyone. All right, I see we have a couple more super chats here. Sergio has made a $1.99 contribution, says best shampoo and soap for us that aren't clean yet. I wish I could answer that question for you, Sergio. I can't. I can tell you, unfortunately, the best soap and shampoo for you is almost certainly not going to be some commercial brand. Okay, the commercial brands are all garbage. You should almost certainly stay away from those. What you may want to do instead is look for some boutique brand. These are small brands that are made by hand. They're all organic. They actually tell you everything that's in them. By law, they don't have to list any ingredient on a label if it makes up less than 1% of what's in it. And so unfortunately, even with the organic brands found at places like Whole Foods, etc., there may be ingredients that aren't so nice that aren't on the label if they're a tiny percentage of it. Okay, so you want to be super careful about what products you're buying. And of course, Sergio's, he says for those that aren't clean yet, his reference is to the fact that once the body is clean enough, there's no need for those products. So I don't have, I have a bar of soap on the countertop, but I rarely, if ever, use it. I use something to shave here and here. But I don't use soap on my face, hands, or body most of the time. The exceptions are if I get a massage with coconut oil, for instance. We use organic coconut oil here. In order to get that off, water doesn't do anything. Oil and water don't mix. So it takes soap to get that off. And I want to get it off as soon as it's done. I wipe off what I can, and then I'll use soap to get the rest of it off my skin. I don't want the oil on my skin because it's absorbed into the bloodstream. And here what we do is we provide our guests with a handmade organic soaps made locally. We don't provide any other substances because there's no reason to use them. So I don't, obviously I don't need much shampoo these days. I do have some hair, but I keep it super short. And so I use the machine every 2 days, 3 days at the most of the time. I just prefer it this way. I'm not as concerned as I was about how I looked when I was younger, and this is just easiest. So this is what I do. I tried shaving once, but that's a lot more work. It's easiest just to buzz it real short and just let it stay there. Just keep cutting it that way. Anyway, yeah. So that, my advice would be I started to say, when I was younger and still had a lot of hair, I stopped using shampoo almost 30 years ago, and my hair was perfectly fine. Once you get your body balanced, it's fine. In the meantime, you may want to use something. Now, what I would do for shampoo, even after I realized how toxic shampoo was, but wasn't ready to give it up, I tried a couple of different things. You can take some lemon juice or lime juice and put it in water. That can work for some people. That some people report that doesn't feel as clean that way. The other thing that people do is they use a little bit of vinegar. And I was really opposed to the idea when I first heard of it, thinking that your head would smell like vinegar, which I think doesn't smell very nice, but it doesn't happen. The vinegar smell dissipates pretty much instantly when you're done. So those would probably be a better bet. In terms of soap, I don't know that you really need soap on your body unless you're trying to wash oil or something else off. There's really no reason to do it. Okay. I would, I just take a wet washcloth and hit your underarm. Soap isn't going to get you much cleaner. Okay, not really. It's only good if you have something that you need the soap for to remove the substance. Other than that, there's really no need to do that. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let me move on. Ian has made a 10-pound contribution and says, I understand Dr. Alec Burton was one of your mentors. Do you know what he died of, as there doesn't seem to be any information online? In videos from a couple of years before he passed, he looked good. Yeah, he looked good till the end. I apologize. I don't remember what it was. I heard about it, when it happened. I knew the story, but I'm trying to remember now exactly what was going on. I'm not sure. I'll find out. Maybe I can tell you by next week. Alec was a great guy, a real gentleman, super intelligent, super knowledgeable, really caring. I mean, just a wonderful, wonderful guy. I'm glad I knew him. And, I feel like my life was better because I knew Alec. His wife, Nejla, is still around and still runs the center there, Acadia Health Center in Sydney, but I don't think they're doing so much anymore. I don't really think she's equipped to do that work without Alec on hand. But let me see what I can find out for you, Ian. Okay, appreciate the question and the contribution. M. Will has made a $25 contribution and said, Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you too. I appreciate so much your generous contribution. That reminds me, there are people here on this live who perhaps for whatever reason aren't able to make contributions here. That happens sometimes. We hear about those. And there are people here that, for whatever reason may not choose to donate here. That's fine too. You may choose not to donate at all. And of course, that's your right. I'm here anyway, every week for years now, offering as much free information as I can to people. But I'm going to share again, as I have for the last couple of weeks, our GoFundMe campaign. And I have some big news, actually. I told you I was going to tell you why we were so busy, but I'm going to start by sharing some really great news. We finally, low battery. Okay, so unfortunately, let's go to low power mode and see what happens. So those of you on Instagram probably just saw a decrease in quality. Oops. Sorry about that. I'm running out of battery and forgot I neglected to charge my battery before getting started this morning. So my battery is a bit low because it hasn't been charged for a day or so. Sorry about that. I'm not sure how much longer I'll be with you here on Instagram. But what I want to share with everybody, while I still have Instagram, perhaps, is that we acquired the 409 acres with the two highest waterfalls in Central America in the last couple days. So I guess it was on Tuesday night, we signed the documents. I didn't leave there until after 7 p.m., the lawyer's office. On Wednesday, I went to the bank to wire the funds. And I want to thank everyone who supported us in helping to reach that goal. Now, we are still asking for support. Why? Because the project, we've acquired 409 acres of a planned 4,000 to 5,000 acre project. This first piece was a big deal because it has these two waterfalls, which are kind of the keystone of the project and important for us to have because we're sort of building the project around that. Now that we have that, that's fantastic. It's also was one of the larger pieces of land. Most of the other farms are smaller. This was actually multiple farms put together. And so acquiring that piece, it was a big chunk of cash because it had the waterfalls. It was way more expensive than most of the other land. Doing the rest of the farms will be easier, but we're still going to need support. And so I have just posted the link to the GoFundMe for Las Cascadas, this project. If you're new to this and haven't heard about this before, we have set up a US 501c3 nonprofit organization which will own the land. They'll own all the land in the nature preserve. The idea is to protect the land. There will be operating businesses. We have to operate something for tourists. I mean, just to take tickets, and we'll have people maintaining trails, and we're going to build some facilities, some safe pathways with handrails around some of the falls. Right now, you have to use a rope to pull yourself up to see some of this, and it's not really so safe. We're going to create something that's safe for visitors, for tourists. We're going to create bathrooms and some refreshments and various other things in the nature preserve. Eventually, there'll be a biological research station in the nature preserve. There will be perhaps a camp for kids, probably not in the preserve, but on the edge of it somewhere. So they'll have easy access to get into it. But these are things that we'll still need to do and fund and operate. There'll be other related businesses located up and around the nature preserve itself, including, for instance, the permaculture-based fruit farm, where we have a farm where we're going to be able to plant about 40,000 fruit trees. It's actually 3 separate parcels. We have one of them now because it's part of this contract. We just bought part of that's up top. There are 2 more next door. There's actually another small property in between we're hoping to acquire as well. So each of these things is part of this project, and we are going to continue to be attempting to raise as much as we can to make all of this happen. Okay, so I just posted the link there and appreciate your support. We have another super chat here from Jean-Sebastien Delcourt. Jean has made a $5 Canadian contribution and said, "Hey, Loren, is a person's fat reserves the only measure of the possible length of that person's water fast?" No, it's not. It's not just based on fat reserves. And in fact, to the average person, fat reserves isn't a very good indicator, because we can take people who are quite lean. Almost everybody can go 6 weeks. Now, people who are severely underweight, really, really severely underweight, may not be able to do that. But we've had many people who are very underweight go 6 weeks. Now, if we look at people like some of the leanest people we ever see, Guzelle, who produces all my videos for me, first came here. She's fasted with me 3 times now as a client. The first time was nearly 5 years ago. And when she's 5'7", about 170, 171, something like that, centimeters. And when she got here, she was 40 kilos, 88 pounds. That's very, very light. She fasted 21 days. And it made a profound difference in her life, which is why she came back and has fasted again. She's a type 1 diabetic and now uses 15 or 20% as much insulin as the average person would, given her circumstances. Okay, so, but in addition to how much fat reserves somebody has, we need to look at other factors as well, including what's going on for them. Exactly. It's really about what their history is, what their current situation is, etc. Okay. All right. M. Will has made another contribution, $25. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate this. Congratulations on acquiring that beautiful land. Thank you so much. It's a big victory. Honestly, even right now, it's still a little bit of stress. We've first of all, we made the first, it's the 3rd payment to them, but it was the biggest one. And the way the contract was ultimately negotiated, we have one more payment, the last payment in a year, we still have to make. At today's exchange rate, it's about $350,000 we have to raise. Right now, we still need to pay the realtor, the agent on the transaction, as well as the lawyer. And we're still raising money to cover those things. So, the campaign isn't over, but we've come a long way. We will have title to the property, within whatever that takes. It probably takes a month here or more. Everything's slow, but as soon as that's possible, that will get done. However long it takes the government to do that, we'll have that happening very, very soon. And so some very cool things going on around the project. All right. So that's all the super chats for now. So that gives me a moment to share with what's happening here. Why has it been so busy here today? So I was preparing to record about an hour-long piece, and instead they knocked on my door to let me know that one of our clients leaving today was supposed to leave today. She has a flight early tomorrow morning. tested positive for COVID-19. What does that mean? You know what? I just realized I'm not sure I can actually explain everything that I'd like to explain about this. But you know, the law says that she now has to be quarantined. So she's going to be here 2 more weeks at least. Actually, we're going to get her tested again. They can't get here today, but hopefully tomorrow or Monday at the latest. And if she can get a negative test, then she'll be able to get on the next flight. But you know, it's meant informing people about what's happening and et cetera, et cetera. So it's just been busier than expected. And then we had a couple of people who, one man wanted to change his refeeding schedule. He's been refeeding already for a couple of weeks. This is after fasting for, what did he do? I can't remember now. If the plan was 42 days. And if I remember correctly, I think he did 42 days. I think he might have gone a tiny bit less than that. Maybe he did 39 or 40. So he's already been eating for a while and felt like he was ready to, it just required some time. I needed to talk to the roommate of the woman who was tested positive because they've been sharing a room all this time. I needed to speak to another client who has some low electrolytes. We need to figure out how to proceed. I needed to speak with another person who, 2 other people who are refeeding. One person after a 20-day fast was planned to go 21 to eat tomorrow. Feels like, you know, she's having a hard time getting enough water in because of nausea. And this is someone who's been gaining body fat almost every day. How does that happen? It doesn't happen. But the bioimpedance device confuses water in the belly as you rehydrate old material. It sees this mass it can't account for and thinks there's body fat. So this is someone whose issues are all around the presence of this old material, and that makes it challenging for someone. You know, what happens is they start drinking a fair amount of water and they start rehydrating that stuff and then feel very sick. And so it's been difficult for her to get enough water in. And the result is that she's not getting enough water in and is now feeling a bit dehydrated. And so we made the decision that she would break her fast this morning. Anyway, all these things just happened at the same time. And so this is why I was a few minutes late getting here. So I apologize for that. Now, thank you so much, all of you, for all of your support here. And I've got 2 more super chats. I'm going to go to Sina Lorenz. I'm probably not pronouncing your name correctly, DDL. And so I'm not sure what any of that means. I see you commenting on videos. I see you here, and I appreciate so much your support. This person has made a $10 contribution and just said, #1 fan. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. I really do. Thank you. Okay, back to Jean-Sebastien Dalcourt, who's made a $5 Canadian contribution and said, when perfectly fat adapted during a water fast, can an extremely obese person of 500 pounds run out of his protein before running out of his fat reserves? No, that's not going to happen. The body uses tiny amounts of protein, right? We are converting tiny amounts of muscle to sugar throughout the process, because even though it's possible to get a tiny amount of sugar from, to get a tiny amount of sugar from fat, it's not sufficient for the average body's needs. So the brain, the reproductive organs, the spleen, for instance, all, Oscar, hello, Oscar, thanks so much. I appreciate that. Someone's just identifying themselves. Sina Lorenz is Oscar. Thank you, Oscar. So these 3 systems in the body need sugar. And usually what happens throughout the process is muscle is broken down and converted to sugar. It's a chemical conversion process. And it's something that science has been well aware of for a long time. You know, it's funny because just yesterday I responded to a comment on one of my older videos talking about this. You know, someone telling me how stupid this was, that this doesn't happen. But we've measured thousands and thousands of people's blood sugar, muscle mass, and body fat. And we can see that, well, of course the body's consuming fat. And we sometimes see fat going up because the body's holding water here. We can identify that. We can see what that is. We can also see that the body is losing muscle mass. For most people, throughout the process, right? So this, I mean, it's like everyone has an opinion, but I have an opinion based on having thousands of data points. So could it be that it's only the water from the muscle? Well, it's possible. But even when people are drinking plenty of water, muscle mass typically goes down, okay? Now, sometimes when we take people who are very dehydrated, right, the more dehydrated somebody is, the easier it is to help them rehydrate. I mean, if someone's 99% hydrated, it might not be so easy to get that last 1% because the body may have other more important things to do. That's not really a very important thing at that point. But if someone is let's say only 70% dehydrated, which is pretty low. I mean, the average person we see is around 85% of where I believe it can be. But we see people sometimes at like 71, 72%. That's very dehydrated. And when that happens, it's easy to raise their hydration level, right? Because it's so low, it doesn't take much to bring it up a little bit. And as someone gets hydrated, because muscle mass is mostly water, as someone gets better hydrated, we can see their muscle mass actually increasing while fasting, right? Because the body is better hydrated, right? This makes sense. I mean, it's not like it's crazy. It makes perfect sense. It's completely logical, and we can see the difference in people. I mean, we have people all the time talking about how the amazing things are shifting. So I have a client fasting with me right now at home, from home in North Carolina. He is on day 21 of his fast, and he sees an upper cervical chiropractor because he's had issues with his spine. And he's been seeing this chiropractor for, let me go back and take a look at those comments. So I'm telling you exactly what he said. Oh, you know what? It's not there. I've got to go to his fasting spreadsheet. So here we go. Give me 1 second. Okay, there we go. Okay, so he's been seeing this chiropractor for a year and a half. He sees him, I think, every week. That's the way these guys typically work. Is it's a weekly. What happens with upper cervical chiropractic? I'll give you guys a little heads up because most people don't even know about upper cervical chiropractic. So the spine is divided into several regions. The upper cervical spine, this is your neck, right? We have vertebrae that come all the way up into the neck here. And so this is the upper cervical spine. And what an upper cervical chiropractor does is he works on little minor subluxations. I mean, this is like very gentle thumb pressure. It's actually, I think, well, that's the way. I had a guy once, I had given a seminar. It was either Tulsa, I think it was Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was either Tulsa or Oklahoma City. I think it was in Tulsa. And at the end of the seminar, a man came up to me and said, I'm an upper cervical chiropractor. I'd like to give you a treatment. And as a thank you for this amazing seminar. And I said, great. And so we agreed that I would see him the next morning. I went to met him in his office, and he gave me this treatment. And just very gentle thumb pressure. And it's like click, 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 right? A little bit lighter. I mean, sometimes it could be 4 or 5 times. I think in my case, it took 2 or 3. And then there was no more sound. And he said, that's it, right? Now, before doing that, he would put you on a device that would measure how much weight is on each foot, right? So theoretically, we should be standing 50% on each of our 2 feet, but most people don't do that. In some cases, it's dramatically different. It could be 60-40. It's a pretty significant difference. Mine was only off by 5 or 6 points, I think, something like that. I can't remember now what it was. It was something like 47, 53, something like that. They also look to see your alignment. They check the alignment of the head, the shoulders, the waist, the hips. I think they look at whether you're in alignment or not, and the alignment of the spine itself. And after the treatment, they check everything again. And my weight had gone from being off by 5 or 6 points to being off by like 1 point. It was like 51-49, right, with one treatment. And he said, can you come back? I'll give you another one so it's perfect. And I said, I'm leaving, first thing in the morning tomorrow. I go to my next city to speak. So I never saw him again in person. We're actually still in touch, and I just heard from him not too long ago. This was probably close to 20 years ago, 17, 18 years ago. We're still in touch. Very nice guy. He's actually moved back to Alabama, where he grew up. But anyway, so this client today said to me, I had my second treatment in a row where my spine was perfect, right, while fasting for the first time in a year and a half. So he's seen this guy like 78, almost 80 times. He's only twice where it's been perfect, and that's after these two fasts. Now, some people would need, 3-4 visits. I mean, the guy said to me, you need one more visit. Some people might need 3 or 4. Some people might need 10. He's seen this guy now 78 times, roughly 75 times, something like that. The last 2 have been perfect. I'm not sure if he needs to go back again, right? That happened while fasting. Okay. I mean, there's one example of some of the amazing shifts that happen. Now, why would that happen while fasting? Well, we're getting him hydrated even now. Even though we're not seeing a significant shift in his hydration levels, his body is having access to this work. But coming back to the question, John Sebastian's question, someone who's got massive fat reserves, we're using so little muscle that there's really no practical. I mean, someone like that could fast easily for 7 or 8 months. My longest client's fast was 4.5 months, and there was no problem, at all. I mean, zero problem. And by the way, I mean, I had the same guy who told me that, how stupid I was for suggesting that the body consumes muscle when we can actually measure that. Also told me that it's, you have to take nutrients while fasting. And our clients don't take nutrients while fasting. And this guy who did 4.5 months is no exception. So 4.5 months, only water. The key is to actually understand what you're doing. Okay? So I hope that helps, John Sebastian. Thanks again for your support. Veronica Kyles has made a 1999 contribution and said, good morning, Loren. Much success in your projects. Veronica, I feel so bad. Thank you so much, first of all, for the generous contribution. I am aware I have your name on a list that we need to speak. I have been so crazy busy lately. I'm still have full calls every morning. We're completely full here. We have all this going on around the project and raising money in the Academy for Vibrant Living. And we have a new remote fasting program you've heard me talk about. There's always challenges, right? It's like building an app, basically. We're trying to make something new work that it's always been manual, all of it. And we're trying to automate as much of it as we can. I mean, it's still going to be calls with me every day. That part's never going to be automated. But I mean, like the sign-up process and some of these things. And we're trying to make it a much better experience for people because, if it relies on me and I'm super busy, I may forget to do something. We don't want that to happen. We want to make sure everything is happening as it should. But there's been a lot of effort to make all these things, bring all these things together. So I have your name on my list. Now that we've satisfied the requirements to get to this point, that's great. As I said, we still need to raise some money, and thank you for your contribution. I would still love to speak with you, and we'll be trying to organize that over the next 2 weeks or so. It should start to get a little easier for me, I think, as we get closer and closer to the end of the session. We have people leaving who won't be replaced, right? Up until now, every time someone's left, we had 5 people leave last weekend. We had 5 people show up last weekend. This weekend, we have several people, 3 people leaving. I think we have 1 person coming, as far as I know. So it should get easier. Okay, but thank you so much, and let's see if we can't connect sometime soon. I'm still very interested in talking to you about that. Sergio Hernandez has made a $1.99 contribution and said, tips on dealing with insomnia. Okay, that's a great question. Insomnia, I mean, it's a big question, and it probably I could probably spend an hour talking about it. But let's talk about a few of the most important pieces. 1, don't eat before going to bed, okay? If you have insomnia, don't eat, because if your body is busy processing food, you're not going to sleep very well. You might pass out from the exhaustion, all the work that's going on, but you're not actually going to sleep very well, right? So you don't want to do that. You probably don't, you want to stay away from screens late at night. And I know that's difficult because we tend to be in front of screens now much of the time. That's obviously not a good idea. It looks like we're about to lose Instagram. Bye, folks. If you can, okay, you can still see me. My battery is almost completely dead. So I'm just going to say goodbye now. Feel free to hang around. If you're enjoying this, by the way, if you're liking this, please give it a thumbs up. We can do that here on YouTube as well. I see 16 of you have, but there are many more of you than that. So please feel free to do that if you believe this is something that's valuable for people. Okay, so you want to stay away from screens. You want to start exposing yourself to low light. So instead of having overhead lights late at night, use lamps that keep the light low. Like I've got a desk lamp here, so lights are low. The lamp you can see on that end table over there puts out a much dimmer light than the overhead lights do. Okay, do that. Keep lights low, right? The idea is, our bodies were intended to, first of all, not be exposed to artificial light. So one way would be to, if you have insomnia, would be to try to get to bed at the same hour every night. Don't make it too late. You sleep much better between 10 and 12. Those hours are more important than the later hours. Make sure that you're not too hot. Many of you are in winter time somewhere and maybe dealing with, I see your message, Veronica, thank you. I'll look forward to making that happen soon. So you want to make sure that you aren't too warm, because the body actually needs to cool off at night, right? We go through these cycles where we reach our peak temperature, our high temperature of the day around 4 p.m. and then the low temperatures around 4 a.m. And so when you go to bed, if you have too many covers on or pajamas, whatever, and your body can't cool down, you won't sleep as well, okay? For many people, it's not a good idea to do a lot of intense exercise too close to bed, because that can ramp people up, right? You want to be thinking about, the things you do in the evening. For those of you that have trouble sleeping, might be better off being more meditative. I know, for instance, if I go see an action movie late at night, it might be hard to sleep. I feel, sort of a lot of adrenaline, and that's not a good thing when you're trying to sleep. So, of course, you want to stay away from coffee. You want to stay away, if you're in Argentina, you want to stay away from mate, because it's almost, caffeine and matein are almost the same things. Any stimulants you want to minimize as much as possible, especially late in the day, but really anytime. Coffee can affect your sleep anytime. I mean, it definitely can affect me for well more than 24 hours. One of the things that I would do would be to make sure to expose yourself to afternoon sun in the afternoon. Okay, I mean, no matter how sunny it is, get outside in the afternoon. Get outside in the morning. In the morning, it helps your body realize that it's time to start waking up, right? So early in the morning, get outside and expose yourself to some natural light. In the afternoon, do the same thing. Your body starts to slow back down, okay? And then, if I ever can't sleep, if my mind is too active to sleep, one of the things you can do is called a mind dump. A mind dump is where you write down or record, on a keyboard, whatever device, whatever it is you're thinking about. Having recorded it, you don't have to keep thinking about it, okay? That's the idea. I'll usually follow a mind dump by meditation. But instead of sitting here cross-legged in my chair, I'll meditate lying down in bed. Lying down in bed, turn off the lights, close your eyes, and lie in bed. And this can allow your body to, I know if I'm tired, but I'm having trouble because there's too much going on, this will often help me fall asleep almost instantly. So these are some of the key tips that I can share with you, okay? If you're feeling anxiety, there's a simple breathing technique I've shared before. 2 quick inhales through the nose, quick hold, not quick inhales, but 2 inhales through the nose, hold for a moment, and then exhale through the nose, like this. Okay, and you might do that 5 or 6 times. I just went through 2 cycles. You do 5 or 6 of those, and it tends, like if you're feeling anxious, it shifts your brain chemistry, so you feel less anxious, and that makes it easier for most people to sleep. Okay, so I see we're running out of time. I've got a call in 7 minutes, it looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the last 2 super chats. Alexis De Prato has made a $5.49 euro contribution. Says, hello, Loren. I stopped fitness for 7 years. Now I'm 31 and can barely do 1 push-up and no pull-up. Is it really important doing it for health? It is. It's really, really important. So, you know, I've had those times in my life where I've taken a break, sometimes for months at a time. I've never gone more than months at a time without being active. But the longest was probably after I broke my hip and was in pain. I was only able to fast for 7 or 8 days which wasn't long enough, because I needed to travel to Florida, to Miami, before a session opened, because I had some business, some things I needed to do. We were going to be in trouble before the session opened. It was banking related issues that I had to be standing in the bank to take care of in Miami. And so I only fasted for a week, where I probably would have been better off fasting for 21 days. I believe if I'd fasted 21 days, it would have healed completely. Instead, I fasted for a week, and it still took me several months to get over the pain. And, I went from running every day before that happened to not having run. I mean, I run when I play Frisbee on the beach, when we take the team to the beach, which we'll be doing again soon. But other than that, I stopped doing my daily hill sprints. I used to run up. I actually created a very cool serpentine trail. I designed that specifically so I could run. It turns out that it's perfect and it works really well. But I wanted that so I could run up this path. It's up a hill, and I haven't been doing that. So it is important. I would encourage you to get back to it right away. Make a commitment to yourself. Maybe if you can only do 1 push-up right now, then do 5. Do 10 push-ups, 1 at a time. Do 1, take a break. Do another one, right? And keep doing. Do 10 a day, right? And keep doing that until you can do 2 at a time, right? Or if it gets gets easy for you, do a slow negative, right? So every exercise has a positive and a negative phase. Most exercises are named for the positive phase. So in the push-up, the pushing up is the positive phase. But if you go down as slowly as you can, that's the negative phase of the exercise, and works those muscles pretty intensely. So even if you can only do 1 push-up, you can do 1 push-up, and then you can use your knees to get back up into the plank position, and you can come down again as slowly as you can. You can do 10 negatives and only 1 positive, right? And that way you're getting much more exercise. You're going to grow faster. The other thing that you're going to want to do is restrict your feeding window, right? Mine is typically 4-5 hours, 6 at the most days for the last 29 years. And restrict your feeding window, and then exercise as late into the daily fast as possible. So if I'm having my first meal at 3 o'clock, I would want to exercise at 2 o'clock or 2:30, ideally. So I have the longest fasting period, because that means my human growth hormone is elevated, and I'm going to get more benefit. I'm going to get more growth that way from the exercise than I would if I was exercising at some other time of the day. Now, to be honest with you, I don't do that, because in theory, it makes perfect sense. And if you can set your life up that way, do it. I wind up being busy seeing clients here until 3 o'clock and sometimes later. And it's only after that I eat breakfast. And so I don't take the time to exercise then, because I'm kind of ready to eat by then. It's already been 20 hours since my last meal, sometimes 21 hours. So I wind up exercising between my calls in the morning, right? I have an hour-long call, but sometimes it only takes me 45, 50 minutes on our group call. So I'll do a set of push-ups. So I'll go into the kitchen next door and do a set of full-body dips where I'm lowering my entire body weight. Push-ups are they use the whole arm, whereas the dips are mostly triceps and shoulders. And anyway, they're both great exercises. I'd encourage you to be doing these things every day. Okay, every single day I would do something. All right, M. Will says, do you receive more of the money we donate via GoFundMe or via live chat? GoFundMe charged me $12 for a $100 donation, which you probably didn't receive, or better to ask for an invoice from you. Okay. Wow, I had no idea that you were charged. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say this. It feels kind of silly, I did not know that you were being charged $12 to make a $100 contribution. I would have thought, I mean, we pay them something, a percentage, I don't remember what it is, and I would have thought that it was only coming from our end. I mean, it's not 12%, it's much less. I had no idea you had to pay that much to make a contribution. I believe, so having factored that in, you know what, I would say do whatever works for you, because it's, you know, it's all helping us. We probably get a little bit more from GoFundMe than we do, because YouTube takes quite a big chunk. I think they take 10% from us. So whatever we earn, they take 10%. Where I think, if I remember right, GoFundMe is 3 or 3.5%, something like that. So for us, that's better. And it's about the same if we send you an invoice. It's going to be around the same amount. But if there's a way that means less cost to you, I mean, so now if GoFundMe is expensive for you guys to donate, you know, if you're paying 12%, that seems absurd. And I thank you so much. I had no idea, but I probably, yeah, I wouldn't ask you to do that. In that case, it might be cheaper to do for us to send you an invoice. You just tell us how much you want to donate. We can send you an invoice for that. We get charged like 3% or so. And I don't think there's any charge to you that way. I mean, if you do a bank transfer, you probably have to pay for that. But if you use a card to do it, I don't think you have to pay that way. And so that may make the most sense for you, right? So, you know, anyone here, thank you so much. I very much appreciate your thinking about this and your desire to help with this project. You know, for anybody else that wants to help, if you have a preferred way of making a donation, by the way, we also have, oh, now I can't think of what it's called. We set up another platform for people that weren't able to make contributions here on the Super Chats. And I can't think of what it's called. And I mean, I haven't really looked at that very much, but we do have, you know, this other platform where you can either do a recurring monthly donation or you can do a one-time donation. That's also available. But it's whatever works best for you. If you'd like us to invoice you because you want to do a larger contribution, it's going to cost too much otherwise, we're happy to do that. It's no problem. I've got someone that can send invoices, and it only takes a couple of minutes to set one up. So please don't feel bad about asking for an invoice. If you're helping us, we're very, very happy to do that. Okay, just let us know. All right, let's see. Okay, Sergio, I'm very glad those are helpful to you. Oscar says, for elimination, once you can see the fruit and salad in the stool, that means the person is fully clean after fasting 21 days. Well, if you can see the fruit and salad in the stool, it probably means you're not chewing it well enough or not digesting it fully. Your food should come out. I mean, you're going to see seeds, of course, but the food itself should be fully digested. You shouldn't be able to see it. How you can tell you're eliminating only fruit and salad and no more old material, which doesn't mean you're fully clean, just means you're not eliminating old material right now. How you can tell that is if you're eating only fruit and salad, your bowel movements should be quick, easy, painless, clean, and odor-free. If it's only the new material coming out, it'll be quick, easy, painless, clean, and odor-free. Okay? If it doesn't meet those 5 criteria, it means there's some old material there, or you're still eating other stuff. I mean, if you're eating normally, your bowel movements may be difficult and painful and, you know, take a long time and be smelly and messy, etc. But if you're eating only fruit and salad, quick, easy, painless, clean, odor-free every time. Okay, that's how my bowel movements are almost every single time now for nearly 30 years. The exceptions are if I eat gourmet raw food or, you know, a bunch of nuts or seeds, anything like that, which doesn't happen very often, but still happens every once in a while. Okay. All right, thanks so much for your questions. And it looks like we have another contribution from Jean-Sebastian. Thank you so much, Jean-Sebastian, who says, after a month-long water fast or more, where does the body get its electrolytes to survive? Well, the electrolytes aren't being consumed when we're fasting, so they remain in the bloodstream. Nothing is 100% effective, right? 100% efficient. So as I imagine it, I see I'm over time, and I'm going to. What that means is that whenever we're filled 60 times a day, we're probably going to lose a tiny amount of electrolytes. And so what's expected and what does happen is electrolytes drop a little bit over the course of a long fast, but not very much. Okay? The only time electrolytes are an issue are if someone starts with an imbalance, if someone isn't drinking enough water, or if someone is drinking too fast, okay, or is vomiting a lot repetitively, or has ongoing watery bowel movements, like diarrhea. Doesn't have to be diarrhea, but like very watery stools. You're losing electrolytes in those conditions with vomiting or watery stools. And if you're drinking too much, you're flushing them out. And if you're not drinking enough, you're going to imbalance the system. And obviously, if you start already out of balance, then it's likely to be an issue. Okay, but we don't need to get electrolytes while fasting. Okay, because what we need, we have. Assuming we start out in good shape. Now, we're now requiring from now on, everyone will need to get an electrolyte test when they start their process. And I have a woman here who unfortunately didn't have time. She wasn't sure and finally got here, but last minute, and needed to get here because we're closing. And so she got here, but didn't get the electrolyte test. And we just had it done and got the results this morning. And she has a couple of electrolytes out of balance. So we've got to decide, is it still safe for her to continue, even though she has a couple of electrolytes that are too low? We can give her some salt. It happens to be sodium and chloride. The problem is that she's no longer fasting, right? People say, well, you have to take nutrients. You're not fasting if you do. So what I'm thinking in this case is we might feed her for a little while and probably give her some things like celery juice, which I wouldn't normally use, to bring up the sodium and chloride. And in some cases, we'll even use a tiny, tiny amount of salt, which is not optimal, but it's a situation where we need to bring these things up. Now, you don't do this if someone has a severe problem. If they're already way out of balance, like it's really low, and they're already seeing symptoms, then you have to be very, very cautious about how you interact with that. If you take in too much too fast, you can actually create a much bigger problem. Okay, so I hope that's all clear to everyone. Again, thank you so much for all the congratulatory comments about the project. We're so excited about this. I didn't have time yet to remind everyone about a couple other things. Remember, the Academy for Vibrant Living, the Vibrant Health course, and the Health Coach course, we are still offering a small discount, well, a significant discount, not the same big one, on those. If you go to the Academy for Vibrant Living.com, Academy for Vibrant Living.com, you'll find that information. I think you can still go to vibrantspecial.com. Vibrantspecial.com is actually the most direct way to get to the discounted rate if you want to sign up for the course. We're having so much amazingly positive feedback so far. People love the program, and you may want to take advantage of this amazing offer while you can, because it won't last too much longer. Okay, we're also going to be unrolling, launching the new remote fasting program over the next week or so. That's coming up very soon. So we're also going to be doing several more. Thanks, everybody. Looks like I'm disconnected, but I'm going to pretend you can still hear me, and I'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.